There is a wealth of information just sitting in the header of an email message. We can extract information such as timestamps, addresses, both IP addresses and email addresses, names, and much more. In this nugget, I like to demonstrate one tool that can be used to help extract that information and look at it, and that's called Email Tracker Pro. And I'm going to launch a browser. In my case, I'm going to launch Chrome, and let's do a search for Email Tracker Pro. And that is indeed the one we want, Email Tracker Pro. And I'm going to go to the actual website itself, and I'm going to avoid something other than the actual website. For example, that says Email Tracker Pro, but it's at the domain softonic.com. Here's Email Tracker Pro from CNET, which also might be okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to the official site, and that way we can help to avoid some tainted or malicious copy of the software. Also, because we're doing this in a virtual machine, which I can roll back, we're less at risk because this is not my production system. This is in my lab environment. So we'll click on the link for Email Tracker Pro, and I'm going to click on download for the free 15-day trial, and then I'll click on download again, and that's now downloaded to this local Windows 10 virtual machine. Or at least it will be in just a moment when the download completes. Fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and launch it, and we have an unknown publisher, which is for commercial software, that's a really bad sign. We'd want to make sure it's signed, the application is signed, and can be verified by our local computer. However, for our lab environment, because this is the actual software itself, it's not a tainted copy, we'll click on yes to continue. And then we'll click on next, and we'll agree, and click on next, and install. And the install should just take a few moments. And it's done. So I'm not going to take a look at the README file, but I will have it automatically launch it for us. And we'll click on finish, which should finish the install and launch the application. And there it is. We'll click on OK for that message. And as a simple example of using an email tool, we can click on My Trace Reports here in Email Tracker Pro. And that's pretty cool. It can geographically show us where an email came from based on the email server. So with My Trace Report selected, we'll go ahead and click on Trace Headers. The easiest way to practice with a tool like this is to use a header for an email that's been sent to you. However, if we also have a copy of an email that we've collected in transit between two parties that's not encrypted, we could also look at the header information for that one as well. So for our lab environment, depending on the type of email client that you have, it may vary a little bit how to look at the email header information. In the version of Outlook that I happen to be using, we'd open up the email message, and then we'd go to tags, and then down here it's going to have the internet header. So depending on what flavor of email client they're using, whether it's web-based or Outlook or something else, you can just do a quick Google search on how to view the headers based on the type of client that you're using so that you can grab a header to analyze and practice with. So as an example, I've taken an email header and I sanitized it a little bit and I pasted the contents of it right here. And all we have to do to analyze that is click on Trace. So we'll click on Trace and it's going to crunch through it. I'll maximize this as well. So based on the IP address information of the source, it's showing us graphically that it believes it was just around here in the USA. And if it had come from some other location, visually we could see that as well. And what it's doing, if we bring this up a little bit, the application just did a trace from the computer I'm sitting at all the way to the source, which is 63.167.239.35. And as it did a trace all the way to that destination, it also did a DNS resolution of all the hops that it could along the way. Then over here on the right, there's an email summary, which we could read through and gather information from. We could click right here for network who is and domain who is. So if we click on network who is, it'll give us information regarding that. But if we scroll down a little bit here, and it has some information based on the block of addresses that it came from. And if we scroll down, additional information that we could glean based on the additional information that whois brought for us. So this tool is simply using whois to provide us additional information. If we go down to domain whois, once again, we have more information regarding the domain this email came from. And if we go down to the email header, it has the email header itself. So if we want to resize this a little bit, we can make that bigger to see more of it. There's also tools as we work with reconnaissance and footprinting for email that can help us identify when an email message was read, if they clicked on links within the email, or where they open an attachment in an email. And we'll take a look at additional email tools when we go to compromising via email. In this nugget, we looked at an example of a tool that could help us learn information from a reconnaissance and footprinting perspective from email headers. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.